maybe over 20 years. I don't remember. It's been so long. I've been teaching a long time. I'm also an author. And so I'm glad you put this panel together, because I was telling you before, a lot of times being an educator, we are taught to be critical. And a lot of times as being critical, we become critical of everything around us. Mm-hmm. Learning to have that self-love is also always helpful. So before we begin and get into that conversation, let's just go around the room and introduce ourselves. And I'll start with Terrence Cribs Laurent, friend from Bethune-Cookman College.
Yeah, you would start with me, and I got drilling happening in the back. So yeah, I am Terrence. I appreciate being here, Jocelyn. I love what you've been doing. I think it is it's necessary, but it's also it's forthcoming, for how we need to constantly look. I think ending the month with us men really encompasses all the 3 weeks that you discussed, even down to the body positivity and what we put into all of those. So just happy to be here. I am art cultural curator and the museum director here in Miami. Special emphasis in historical data and a data analysis. Started out educator, music. So I'm a musician and artist by trained and skill, and then moved into history and art. And so art collector, really encouraging more of us to buy Black art and be art connoisseurs. Yeah, from a financial standpoint.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Terrence. Thank you so much for being here. I love you so much, and you're always so supportive. So thank you for all your support. Okay, so anyone else want to take the floor?
I'm going to just go in order that they placed on the screen.
Okay, so cool.
We'll have some order here. That's me. The teacher in me wants to go in order. So we'll trap Mr. Travis Perry.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Ms. Jocelyn, for putting this together. My name is Travis Perry. I am a children's book author, as well as a special ed teacher. I've been a SPED teacher for a first grade SPED teacher for about 3 years now. I worked a total of 5 years in the public school system, 2 as a para, 3 as a SPED teacher. Prior to working in the school system, I was a pre-K assistant teacher at a Montessori private preschool here where I live. So I had a long background in working with kids. I just got a knack for, pushing kids, motivating kids, seeing them grow, seeing them learn, motivating them just to think positive, be positive, and along the lines of the self-care, what Ms. Jocelyn has been, promoting and talking about as well. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you for having me. And again, nice to be here with all these Black educators. Good to see.
All right. Yes, sir. Mr. Phil.
Hey, y'all. Hello, everyone. Jocelyn, thank you so very much for having me. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. My name is Philip Baynard, and I am a Louisville, Kentucky resident. I've got Kyrie whoop whoop. I've been in the childcare and education field for a very long time. Professionally, I've done Head Start teaching, preschool. I've been a site director for a child care enrichment program. I've also supervised the staff team for a company that provided services for children with intellectual and physical disabilities. And the last 2 to 3 years, I have been a full-time entrepreneur, working in different, working with different creatives and stuff like that in the city. And most recently, last year, I started some work with a local nonprofit here in Louisville called the Hope Bus. And that is where I'm tapping back into my education side. We are getting ready to relaunch a program called Hope This Helps, where we will be providing additional education and additional resources and assistance to students during um, while they're doing the NTI virtual learning, and then we'll transition into some after school type programming once they do return back to school, whatever that's going to look like, whenever that's going to happen, and also kind of just operate as a sort of family resource hub for marginalized students in our community. So that's a little bit about me. I don't want to talk because I'll ramble on and on and on. So again, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here with everyone else. I'm very humbled to be in the number.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Corey Russell.
Good evening, everybody. Of course, thank you, Jocelyn, for having me on, sending an invite. Name is Corey. I don't have an extensive resume like everybody else. Author, writer of children's books, trying to break into some other genres as well. I do teach adults everything, well, not everything, but basic business classes, and just started getting into some theology. Main goal is to move into collegiate teaching eventually. That is hopefully my 2-3 year plan, so I can, so hopefully I can learn, quite a bit from all the educators and teachers on here to kind of help me strengthen, that as well. But outside of that, I'm just a comic book nerd, so I collect.
Oh,
Thank you again.
Awesome. We got an awesome panel. Mr. Jaron Vanderhall.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jocelyn Jones and Kyrie, for bringing me to this panel, as well as the Black male educators or educators who are serving our kids, low income, medium or high income. Your impact is greatly needed. I serve in the field of early childhood education. I've been a preschool assistant teacher, lead teacher, a fourth grade teacher, and I've also worked with kindergarten, and I currently serve in the capacity of the Head Start data coordinator for a nonprofit agency. Most of my work is grounded in early childhood because I prefer the little ones. I'm currently in the stages of writing my third book for fathers, but my first 2 books are geared towards children of color, and the second one is a multicultural book for our girls, and I focus on self-confidence, self-love, self-image, as well as role modeling for our kids, because I always say they can't be what they can't see. And that's pretty much a little bit about myself. Thank you for having me.
All right. Here for some awesome conversation, Miss Jocelyn. It's just that lather is starting to lather. All right. Mr. Warren.
Hi, everybody. It's such a blessing to be on. Thank you so much, Jocelyn, for having me. And it's just amazing to be here. So a little bit about myself. I live in Houston, Texas. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. I'm a center director. I am very invested in early childhood education. This is all I know. And daily, I'm just in our facilities, just impacting our teachers, our children, empowering them, empowering the community of early education in my area in regards to giving them that wisdom and guidance on how to maximize profit in their business and how to keep rapport and just all of that great stuff when it comes to just managing a early childhood program. But specifically, I really focus a lot with the children because the children obviously needs the foundation, but additionally their teachers need to be able to have the tools and resources to impact them, because it's all a pyramid, right? So, we have to impact the teachers so that they can pour into the children and that the children can be future leaders of the world. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to just share this space with you men and Miss Jocelyn. And yeah, I'm just proud to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for coming.
Awesome. Mr. Jameer Nelson.
You on mute.
Unmute.
You got unmute.
Hey everyone. I will say first, my 11-year-old son came and set this up, so I don't do much Zoom. So that became apparent as soon as I grabbed the mic. But what I was saying was, first of all, shout out to you, Ms. Jocelyn, to get these many people on the board at one together at one time takes a special talent, especially when you're dealing with people like me. So I applaud you for getting all these people together. Second, I'd like to say a very impressive collection of professionals you have on here, in particular, and all African-American men, very inspiring. But again, my name is Jameer Nelson, and I'm not that much of an educator compared to the board. However, I do value education. In fact, we value education here. Currently, as you know, COVID's going on, so my wife has took on to do homeschool as opposed to sending the kids back to to school because of what's going on. So education is big here. Not only, and we always talk about how school really starts at home. So this is awesome right here, and it's a pleasure to see all these African American men, because they say that it's hard to find a Black man in an elementary school teaching. So it's really inspiring to see all these gentlemen here. But close to teaching, I am a published, self-published, I should say. I'm a self-published author of a kid's book. I got another one coming out, hopefully, two others coming out, hopefully, this spring. And I also teach Taekwondo to second chance adults and children. And when I say second chance, it's people who are in the program temporarily to help themselves basically get custody of their children again, or it's teaching kids, basically giving them an outlet outside of their home. So a pleasure to be around you guys. I might not talk much because it's a lot of power on this panel. I'm just going to sit back and learn. But thank you so much. And again, shout out to you, Ms. Jocelyn, for putting this together, because that's a lot of people who have, and I'm sure everyone's busy, have their own life going on. But for you to put this together is very telling of your, of what you can do.
Thank you. Thank you. Jameer's like my big brother. We're very close. We all like family. So thank you, Jameer.
Mm-hmm.
That is.
His daughter is also a wildcat. My baby, Amina.
Yes. Yeah, my Amina is a wildcat. She'll be graduating this May.
Hey.
You said what, Jameer?
I said Mina, yeah, Mina is she'll be graduating, God willing, this May.
Yep. He's AK too, Terrence. Yes.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Mr. Clifford Browning.
How everybody's doing? How y'all doing today?
Hi.
Thank you. I just want to say again, thank you, Jocelyn, for inviting me on. I see a lot of gentlemen on here are still in education. I actually taught school for about 2.5 years. My background is I'm a former professional athlete. I deal with a lot of athletes. I also have a nonprofit organization where we work with youth in improving education. We do tutorial services. We also provide competitive sports, travel sports, and track and field, lacrosse, baseball, softball. Like I said, that's pretty much my background. Like I said, I'm like the other gentleman. Like I said, it's an extensive background with a lot of great people here, and I'm just glad to be on.
Thank you for having for coming on. And I know Clifford, we went to Panola Way together, elementary school. So yeah, so I've been knowing him for a very long time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
See one more panelist arrived. D Nice, who is that, Jocelyn?
Dimitri.
Demetrius, are you gonna join us and unmute?
Oh, his background nice. A nice background.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to set it up because I just got back in. So, are we doing introductions?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Mitra, Wildcat as well. I have been for a few years. I taught special education K-5 for a few years, and then before that, I did a little bit of working and doing counseling and prevention in the HIV field for many years. After getting out of teaching, I revisited getting back into counseling and HIV. And so I currently still work with that population a little bit, but right now I'm doing life coaching, my own life coaching company that I CEO, and I also currently work in healthcare, providing housing for people who are homeless through simply healthcare. And just recently, I just launched the shoe line. And again, Jocelyn, I really thank you for inviting me, and nice to meet everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank everybody for coming out again tonight. So we'll just open up the floor for discussion, of course. So one thing that I would like to know is, well, I love quotes. And so I'm just gonna put a quote out here. And you guys just kind of ponder and tell me what does this quote mean to you as far as education and just being in the taking up space in your respected areas. Of course, we are Wildcats, so I have to start off with the first quote, which is from my founder, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. And she quotes, "Enter to learn, depart to serve." What does that mean to you as an educator?
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Yes. Enter to learn, depart to serve. If you're an educator, a community leader, a parent, what does those words mean to you when you hear that quote?
Really, to me, it means it's almost an old school frame of thinking, because now the classroom has moved beyond entering to learn and departing to serve. You have to serve while you're there. You know, that's what we're training our kids to do, to learn and serve and be of use and of service to other people while they're in school. Like, I have an after school group on Wednesday called a Change Makers group. We are doing, like, we're going around trying to think of things that we can be, how we can be the change. And so, like, that enter to learn, you do need to enter to learn, but the new frame of teaching is serving while we're learning.
That's good.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. But anybody else unmute? Y'all can just, everybody unmute and just talk.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar with the quote because I'm a Wildcat,
Right?
and I own my Wildcat. I don't think there has to be one or the other at any given time. I think we all, when I heard that quote, when I first entered the university, coming from a background that was, I was DSEG, so I was bused outside of my community to attend an all-white school. I was a token Black kid. in my community. I came back to my community and I didn't sound anything like the kids that lived in my community. And so I was always learning, right? I was always entering to new spaces, and I was always transferring of information, transferring of knowledge. And the depart component isn't the depart from the body as much as it is the depart from what you learned, take away from what you learned to now provide that as a service. And so, you know, Kari mentioned, you know, you're doing both of them collectively together at all times. And so as a man, you are always learning, right? You're learning how to be the best version of yourself. You're learning how to be the best version of yourself and be someone else's helpmate in some cases, right? So I feel like it's one of those quotes that I don't get old. It never gets tired. It's almost like a new scripture. Every time you hear it, something else pops out of your mind that you didn't think about before, but you've heard it before, you know, so that's what it does for me. Great start, by the way, 1904.
Yeah. That's an excellent response. Anybody else? Okay, Jameer.
You know, I'm not is it a wildcat, but I can definitely relate to that because I guess when you enter to learn and once you exit, you are accomplished. But even though you're accomplished, you have to still humble yourself to serve. And that's what I get out of that. And I think when you're doing something like this, you see a lot of times people businesses where they're not people person. Like, you know, I'm sure we all have our experiences in elementary and high school when we thought to ourselves, like, that person should not be a teacher. So it's unfortunate that a lot of people go into this field when it's almost not only you're teaching, but you're really closer to a social worker. And some of the stuff you have to do and have to relate. And sadly, people go in there because this is something to do. But I look at this just like a policeman or a doctor. It's like if you are to take a profession such as teaching, you have to love serving. And that's what you're doing. You're serving people, even when that kid is like a knucklehead or doesn't get it. You have to, like, you know what? You love doing this, so there's no limit to what you'll do as far as trying to get that lesson across.
That's good. That's good. And we often see intersectionality between different industries such as social working and child caregiving, teaching, you know, and even, you know, even in community leadership positions, whether you're a coach, there's always that intersectionality that we always run into. And they all just kind of come together, you know, because we need everybody. It's like we all need, you know, one another to make it work. So that was really a really great point that you made out about that. So that was really good.
You know,
I was going.
I'm sorry. You can go ahead.
Oh no.
I was just gonna say he said a word. You gotta humble yourself enough to serve. That's like really important.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to comment on. It's like, you know, I've never understood people who put themselves in those situations. You know yourself, and you know if you know you're a server, or you know if you care about people, or you're a people person. I've just never understood, you know, and I assume that, you know, all the educators that are on here tonight are teaching or have taught because, you know, they enjoy to do it. They know how. You know, to do it. It's outside of just enjoyment. But, you know, it's a question I've never been able to get an answer to. I just don't understand. It's almost like when we've had those jobs and, you know, as you said, this person should not be teaching. It's almost like, you know, this person should not be a manager because they don't know, you know, how to manage. They don't know how to even, you know, communicate with human beings, you know, so I've just never understood that.
Yeah. And I want to, you know, although, you know, we have authors on here, and I know saying, well, you know, I don't have this extensive resume, but as an author, you are teachers. I feel like, me, myself, I feel like you guys are teachers. So don't, you know, not really second guess yourself, but cut yourself short because you are really teaching the masses and you are giving your ideas and everything like that. So y'all, to me, I feel like y'all are educators too. So I just want to put that out there. So don't think, that you're any less because of, whatever. Um, also the next quote I wanted to put out here is it is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. Frederick Douglass. What are your thoughts?
Um, that's that's a quote that I've heard before that I think is really, really powerful. And um, to me, it means that um, you should focus on nurturing and bringing up a child in a positive environment and making sure that they have the emotional support that they need to become a successful adult. Because once someone has reached, and not even necessarily adulthood, those of you and those of us who have possibly worked with teenagers before, I used to work in a residential facility with teenage boys, and they were 16 and 17, some of them 18, and they had already been through so much trauma that they had reached a point to where now we're trying to repair grown men in this case, and it's often very, very difficult for individuals to move past some of the things that they go through in their childhood if they're traumatizing, and whether that be abuse, sexual, physical, mental, emotional, um, or anything, So I think that's kind of that quote is just saying, make sure that you nurture and help create positive environments for children.
That's good. That's good. I love that. That reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, definitely. And, creating environments that are safe and trustworthy and creating safe environments are so important to the development of children. And so I think that was very valid on what you're saying. Um, and I wanted to hear from Jameer because I know that you also do outreach and also Clifford as well. I'd like to hear from you guys on what this quote. Um, it's easier to build strong children than repair broken men.
I'll go first. Am I muted?
Yes, you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing about it here is like tough love is big here. And what I hear from that quote, this is my opinion, but it's tough love. I often hear like my wife is like, we have an 11-year-old boy, very bright, um, but very like in tune with himself and like sensitive and can express his feelings when you give him a chance. But a lot of times it's like what I hear my wife say is like I think the phrase that she said, don't you not frown, but I forgot what she said. She'll say something to the effect was like, don't you pout. And it's okay to pout, of course, but you shouldn't lay in that. And I'm around a lot of adults a lot of times when they're still pouting. How are you an adult and you're still pouting? And it's, again, we all have our moments, but um, I think when you mature, you should have tough skin. So hard lessons should be taught as early as possible so you can be uh, a producer in life, because life is tough, life is rough, life is bitter, life is unkind, life will push you out the way and keep moving. So you have to be, especially as a Black man, you got to be able to deal with that, because that cop or that teacher or that mailman, they might not look at you like they're supposed to look at you. You know what I mean? Like you go in the farmer's market and they don't acknowledge you when it's your turn to pick the chicken. But you know what I mean? So so I'm just trying to keep it simple, you know, but my point is just that to that quote, to keep it simple, because you got a lot of people on the panel. To me, that's tough love. Give them tough love now so they'll be able to deal with a very complicated world.
That's good. Okay. I love that. Clifford, you want to add? Or...
Yeah, I was gonna say is that especially with the guys that the youth that I deal with in our program, I think the number one thing I guess with children, I think, is that some things are not necessarily physical, a lot of things are mental. And what I want to say is that if you tell a child that you're, say for example, somebody tell a child and the child consistently hears this, stupid, dumb, you ain't gonna be nothing, right? If that child consistently hears that, and then when he becomes an adult, he's already and becomes a teenager, in his mind, that's what he thinks. Because that's all. That's just like, unless he's just a strong kid. That's so. What I'm saying is that, like, if you're able to build kids mentally, you know, challenge them mentally, but able to build them up mentally, so when they get older, they're not broken. Because I think that's the reason why so many broken men. That's why I think it's a lot of broken households. I think it's a lot of reason why a lot of men don't take care of their children, because they're mentally broken. You know? And then it's not necessary because something happened in their childhood. I really feel that way. So I just think when you challenge a kid mentally and you build them up mentally, I think you don't have to necessarily deal with the issues of a broken man. You know, so one of the things I was actually had a conversation the other day. I was talking about, and I was just talking about, I'm gonna use my background as far as the sports. I said, you know, sometimes what I mean by mentally, I said a lot of times if a child is good in sports, a lot of times the first thing, especially, you know, and nothing against single moms, the first thing, moms or dads, first thing they say, hey, you're gonna buy your mom, you're gonna go to the pros and buy your mom a house, a car. So guess what? In that mind, that kid is thinking like, this sport has to work out because I have to take care of my mama. I have to take care of my daddy. And then, but as from a child standpoint, it's not your responsibility, because you're as an adult, as an adult, you have the same 24 hours that you had. Don't put that pressure on your child. So mentally, these kids, this is what these kids are thinking, saying, this is what I have to do. So then a lot of times kids go in depression when they don't make it. That's why I say you got to be careful how you build your children up mentally.
Wow, that's powerful. That is powerful. Wow.
Yes. For some reason, as men get older, or even kids get older, they're not, and particularly men, they're not allowed to express that vulnerability. And so at a young age, we have to, especially for our boys, we have to instill it in them that, you know, they always been taught, oh, it's not good to cry when men don't cry. And coming from that standpoint of being strong, we have to allow them to have that vulnerability, and create that space for them to be strong. That when they get older, they're not sheltered or per se need therapy because, you know, they're not vulnerable enough to, you know, express their feelings. We have to start with the foundation, and that's how we're really going to build strong kids, so they're not broken when they get older.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, I would just like to piggyback off of actually what the last two fellas said. You know, just being mentally bringing your kids up the right way, and teaching them at a young age that, like he said, it's okay to cry, it's okay to love. It's not always about, because I know when I was growing up, it was more of, I'm a boy. I'm always supposed to be tough. I'm always supposed to be hard. I'm not supposed to show any emotion, no fear, nothing, any of that. But and that is what he said before, it caused to have that mental damage, the mental pain. So and that was one of my biggest vows of going into elementary school, because if you know catch them young when their mind's still developing, you can instill certain things. And that's why I'm big on affirmations. Instill affirmations into kids, and that's what's stuck in their head versus I'm not gonna be nothing. I'm not smart. Now they have I am smart. I am a leader. So that's what's stuck in their head. So by the time they hit 15, 16, 17, they've been hearing that since they were 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's still there. And it's not the negative, it's the positive. So like I said, it's all about mentally developing our kids up in the right way and catching them in the early stages. Because once a child reaches a certain age, it's like their mind is made up. They're either gonna think this way or they're gonna think this way. And instilling certain things in them in those critical years of their mind development is very important.
Wow.
Can I speak on that too? Oh, no, I just want, because I told her, you know, with the tough love, you do need to give tough love to your kids. But you as a father, you as a man in education, you have to be there to support them through it. And that's the difference. A lot of times our children are given that lesson in tough love with no support. And see, I was telling somebody the other day, what's worse than not having a daddy? Having a daddy and still not having a daddy. You can see him right there, but he's still not supporting you. He's still not talking to you. He's still not helping you through. He just letting you fall all over the place. So, you know, if you're gonna teach those tough love lessons, you have to be there as the man or the person in education. You have to be there to support them and walk them through that part. And so I just had to speak on that because I do believe in tough love, but just like Mr. Clifford said, you have to be there to support your children, not grabbing off of your children, whatever you can grab off of them, you support, you hold them up.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I want to piggyback off of Kyrie because he said supporting, but I also want to add the element of nurturing, because a lot of men have been taught that it's the woman's position to nurture children, but it's a joint thing. And I think it's very important as men that we also not only support, but we nurture our children. We nurture where they're good at. We help them grow from where they're not so good at. But it's so important to add that nurturing component. And I think that helps to be a better balance. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Nurturing definitely is important. I definitely agree with you on that. And
Jocelyn, can I throw this in there? Do you build your one of the things I quote, do you build your house and then add the plumbing? And I think that's what we have to look at. We see the architectural work of building great people, but we don't build the house and then add the plumbing, right? Because the plumbing happens, and then you got to be careful of what type of plumbing, because the plumbing of today or yesterday, that galvanized plumbing, it don't work in today's package, right? And so I believe that you have to ask yourself, what are we building? And what are we building for? How we, you know, we have this ideological way of thinking how to build a great man. We can't even build a great robot yet. We haven't, you know, if we did, we'd be replaced. Thank goodness we're not, you know? And so I feel like we as this very vast, right? There's an unspoken elephant in this room that I love. I thoroughly love it. And I'm gonna crack at it in just a few minutes, but I'm gonna give it a little room. But it's an elephant in the room when it comes to men that we typically tippy-toe around in order to make and to save face. So I joy. Also, when he mentioned that, he didn't put gender on the beginning of that child. Notice he didn't talk about the man component until in that quote that you said, the way you read that quote, you didn't bring gender into play, which also reminds me of why it is vitally important that women understand the responsibility that they play when they are raising boys, when they are raising men, and the plumbing that they put inside of these spaces. So I couldn't let it. I tried to let it go, but I'm hold on.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
That's important. That is really, really important. I think that
What's the elephant? Just gonna hit it.
no, right. I just go on and hit it, baby. Just go on and hit it. Go on and hit it, Terrence. Go on. It's fine. This is a shared space.
I think my mic is starting to sound like D Nice is drunk and slow. Yes, but hold up.
Well, I'm gonna hit it for you.
Oh, I know.
Because like I tell my teachers at my school, I'm an old white woman trapped in a black man body. And so for me, as a male educator, it's when my children come to me, it's gonna be like they getting something from mama. Mama here, mama here, because I'm an old white woman. And that's what I do. I nurture. When you said nurture, that's what I do. So I'm not gonna be the teacher that be like, oh man, you failed, get up, get up. No, I'm gonna be like, oh, let's get a wet paper towel and put it on it. You know, so
Well, can I step in?
Go ahead.
Let me clarify a little bit too, though, because I am. So that going back to, and I actually agree with everyone, because I think love is the sunshine, but the tough love is the rain, and you need both to grow that plant. And I see a lot with my experience. I see a lot of. You're right. You can't just say, you can't be a drill sergeant to your children. It has to be sponsored by love. But if you look at today's time with technology and everything, just so like easy and instant, their morals get lost. And I will just say this right here: if we all love that movie, or at least let me speak for myself, I love that movie, Lean on Me. And Joe Carter, I'm a cuss, but Joe Carter was nobody's bitch. You know what I mean? So he came in there. I mean, he couldn't come in there. He had to come in there with tough love. But don't get lost on the tough. The key word is love. But you have to have the brain. You have to give them discipline, because children, they yearn for discipline. If you let them stay up all night and eat candy, they're gonna be like, Dad, oh my God, well, I got cavities, and why you let me do this? So what I'm saying is like, so I agree with everyone that said, because I think we're on the same page, but I don't want to get lost in the fact that I'm not saying drill sergeant, get your butt up out of bed and give me 50 push-ups. I'm not saying that. But as I look at today's society, I see too many men who are okay with leaving their household like, well, she'll figure it out. I see too many of it. It's too much of it. And if you want to look at what's really wrong and a lot of is affecting the Black community, that balance is off, where even if you're not with that woman, you need to be there, help her teaching that kid.
Right. Go ahead.
Is that I'm gonna ask, what I'm saying is that there's nothing, I'm gonna be honest, this is my opinion. There's nothing wrong with being a drill sergeant. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm gonna tell you why my opinion on that is because, like you, the biggest point what you said is discipline. I think if you look at, I'm gonna tell you, like if you look at what's going on in Atlanta right now, right? Every time we turn around, it's ages of 14, 15, and 16-year-old boys. They're breaking into people's cars. They robbing people at gunpoint. At some point in time when they was a child, discipline and fear was not implemented in that child's life, because they don't believe in consequences. Because for you to be able to walk up to somebody with a gun at 14, 15 years old and say, I'm going to rob you or I'm going to steal your belongings, at some point in time, somewhere in life. And so what I'm saying, as far as a drill sergeant, what I'm saying, somebody should have gave that young man some type of tough love and understanding that whereas there are consequences for your action. And so I think that's my thing, man. We sometimes I think we miss the point of that. Like, it's okay to be a manly man. And so what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it's so when you say, okay, well, listen, well, son, if you did something wrong, it's a consequence. So if you go out and do something wrong, it's going to be a consequence, because guess what? I'm going to save you before the police try to save you. So I'm going to try to save you before before that other man kills you for trying to rob him. So what I'm saying is that, like the young brother said, is in a lot of situations we're lacking discipline. And so what I'm saying is that, we want to say drill sergeant, but if you look at it, a lot of times, if you look at the military, some of the most respects that the men in the military, they respect the drill sergeant. And so what I'm saying is that, like, because if you notice, a lot of times in certain situations, it's a lot of men growing up in single parent homes. So the mother's going to be the face. But my thing about it is, but if a boy, like they said, has that balance, the man, the boy, you can nurture him, but at the end of the day, I think fathers help instill discipline. Men help instill discipline because, like what I'm saying is that when my kid's mother says something to them, it may take, say for example, it may take them twice, but if I say something to them, it takes once. So the presence of a man is just, and it's just a difference. So what I'm saying is that, like, some people may say, well, you shouldn't be a drill sergeant. What's wrong with instilling discipline? That's what drill sergeant does. He's instilling discipline. That's what I think a lot of children, a lot of teenagers don't have discipline. That's why, again, we seeing so much violence, I feel like, that's going on in Atlanta.
Yeah. Well, I'm a firm believer in this. Like I told a group of teachers I was talking to the other day, it's children's job to push. It's your job as a teacher, as a parent, to be that firmness that won't let them go too far. And school is the safe place where they can push. Some of the kids have it at home. Like if you have a father and a mother, you might have a mother. You have it at home where they got that firmness. But children's job is to push. It's our job to be firm. They feel safe. They should feel safe to push and know that we're not going to let them go too far. And so that is the same. I'm a believer in the Bible when it say foolishness is in the heart of a child, but the rod of correction will drive it from them. Yeah. Because the rod don't mean you got to beat them. You ain't got to beat the hell out your children. But the rod is a strong hand moving them and directing them where you need them to go. And that is what we need. We are all saying the same thing as educators in the room, but we all, it's all about being there. The whole thing is about being there. That's the whole point for me.
And I think what you have is a lot of people, I guess you have to give the definition of drill sergeant for a lot of people, because a lot of, we'll just speak to men, I guess right now, a lot of them feel as though drill sergeant is constantly yelling, constantly, berating, and it's not that, it's like you guys, just said, it's being, you can still instill without being Joe Jackson. Like, because that's not going to work either. If anything, that's going to turn them away. So I think, a lot of times we have to, give people or explain to people, you shouldn't, but explain to them the definitions, because, drill sergeant does not mean that.
I think, just like I would also say, it's just based on everybody's experience. Because just like Kyrie said, I think everybody is saying the same thing, but all of this is really based on each one of our experiences in our respective places. So that was really powerful. I want to kind of touch on these statistics that I saw, and they were really mind blowing for me. But I want to know, because sometimes we hear these statistics, but we are in the field, whether you're a coach, a parent, a teacher, educator, wherever. And sometimes these statistics can kind of distort some things, or how we see the world, how we see our rightful positions in leadership and education. So in 2010, 3,152,000 elementary and middle school teachers were in the school systems in the U.S. And it read that 10.8% of the teachers were African Americans, and 1.81% were African American males. When you hear these statistics, what goes through y'all minds? You know, hearing these statistics that that the black men or the black voices are, not as prominent as it should be in the school systems. Why do you think that this is going on? Why do you think we're not in respected places of education or in community leadership?
I think one of the questions you would first have to ask is, why is society fearful of black men, or black people, but more so black men? It's like, even myself, and I've stopped doing it, but there was a time where I would walk down the street, or you pull up beside someone getting out of the grocery store, and I would change, I guess, my mannerisms or my attitude to make other people feel, I guess, safe, in a way. And it's like, I don't do that no more. It's like, you need to learn how to live with it. Whatever fear you have, of African Americans, and then on top of that, black men, that's something you need to deal with, because what I can't do is continue to compromise who I am, personality and anything, for you. But I think, that question is, why are they so fearful?
Mm.
That was good. I will also say it goes back to what we just talked about, just instilling in our kids stuff at a young age, and just what we see growing up. I know I never had my first African American teacher was my 11th grade year in high school. So, through all of my years in elementary school, middle school, I never had a black teacher, so I never saw that. So I never saw that as something that I could do. And I think that's another reason why the numbers are so low. But I'm glad to be in the position now to where my kindergartners and my first graders can see, hey, he looks just like me and he a teacher, so this might be something that I can do too. So that's just my opinion.
I think that's important, for children to see black males and black men in their lives. I think it gives them something to strive for. Even if they don't become, a teacher, they can see someone who looks like them, and it tells them, I can become a professional writer, I can become an educator, I can become, whatever, the case may be. So, I honestly commend, all the educators on here, because listening to those numbers, we all know that being in school 1%, 2% out of 100, that's an F. Those are terrible statistics, given the amount of people that we have in this country and the amount of Black and African American people in this country. So I think that's important for them to see.
That's good.
And it resonates to what Travis stated. They can't be what they can't see. And we have to showcase that up front. Even coming from the early childhood perspective, in my current job, out of all 6 of our locations, I was the only male teacher last year, and still the only male that's there. So for our kids, representation matters, and we have to showcase that. We have to, display that and instill that in them, and resonate what you just said as well, Corey, that they don't necessarily have to be a teacher, but just to give them that experience and exposure, that their representation is there and is present and making an impact, will have a greater effect on our kids long term.
Yeah, that's good. So when you have retention rates that are up, or that we don't have teachers in place, and you don't have that representation in our schools, how do you see that? Like, do you see that also, with that being done in schools? Like, how does that affect the community? How do you see the community being, what am I trying to say? How do you see the community, being affected by not having that representation in school, with Black men in school? How does that affect the community?
Jocelyn, I think you have to look at it this way also. What do we glorify in our community? As a, when your child win the football game, you take them out to eat. Oh, we going out, we celebrating. When your child get an A on the report card, it's, oh, okay, good job. They don't, what do we glorify as a community? Our male readers. That's why a lot of books are not geared toward boys, because boys don't read. It's not glorified for boys to read. Like, nobody gets an award for reading a book, but go run a football or bounce a ball down the field, and nothing's wrong with it. But that's where we need to start as a community. We need to start giving those kids encouragement. The one who don't want to play basketball, the one who don't want to sing and dance. Give them, encouragement.
Terrence, I want to get your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts? I know you work very heavily.
I'm gonna pass the mic because I want Warren, because Warren got caught up a couple times and he was about to say something. I think the mic got. So I'm gonna pass mine to Warren on this one.
He did.
It's all good. I'm loving the conversation. For me, through this whole topic that we're talking about, representation, it's all a politics. And for me personally, I went into my local school district and immediately I felt unwelcomed. And it's because of ignorance. I wanted to break that ignorance, that status quo that you have to be a blonde head, blue eye female to love children. And that's why I decided to come back into early childhood and do my own thing, do their own business, impact the lives I'm impacting, because I want to break that cycle. So I really, it's really politics. And I do agree about the glorifying, right? Like we don't glorify certain things. Like, for example, the particular facility that I'm in, respectfully, I don't have African American children, and that is not by we accept everybody, but it's just for some reason our school does not pull African American families, and I don't know why, because I'm African American. So I really want to change that, because I think honestly also, it's also the community, the vibe that the community gives, or the intimidation. I don't want to be assertive here, but ideally, if you have a mom driving a Toyota and then a mom driving a Mercedes, does that bring intimidation? So it's kind of a lot of things all mixed together, if that makes sense.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Warren on that. Pretty much anytime I've ever been in a education setting, specifically with early childhood, I've always been the only Black male, as far as teaching staff, especially. A couple of times I've been in schools where there was, maybe a Black custodian or something like that, and it makes for an uncomfortable work environment at times for us, um, because we get looked at as if we're not expected to be there.
Yes, yes, especially in leadership. Especially in leadership, I remember going to an interview at the time for a center director leadership position, and the woman told me, "Oh, based off of your requirements, I can give you the school age position or driving the van." And I said, "No, ma'am, that's not going to work for me." So, is that ignorance that we need to break? And I'm just so happy that I personally feel that, times are starting to change in the education field, not like it used to be. that there is starting to be some type of acceptance, because you can't stereotype African American. You can, but you know, not everybody is a representation that you see in media, if that makes sense, right? And I think that's sometimes people just have that ignorance that this needs to be broken.
Can I ask Clifford? So one of the things I hear Clifford saying is really, what type of man are we building? Like, I'm so back to this because I think we're so monolithic. We're thinking like everybody's going to have this particular form of a man. You know, when I talk to my young girls, I already know some of my young girls, they ain't looking for you nerds. They ain't looking for y'all. And we want to tell them, oh, you need to look for the one that's behind the computer, typing away. No, she ain't look for that. She ain't look for that. One, she ain't look for that because probably her daddy wasn't present to be that. Two, you ain't her type, right? You don't carry the feathers of a peacock that appeal to her, right? And I think we are strong. We're too wrapped in. One of the things I love about this panel right now, I'm gonna say, it's the diversity that is unspoken. It is the absolute diversity that is unspoken. And guess what? We all can identify with a pronoun that effectuates and affiliates with our own personal being. Right? That's just amazing, right? That's amazing to me. What isn't amazing is when we all expect that everybody that carries the dick between their legs, the peen. Oh, can you say that? Oh, snaps. Can you say that on here?
Okay.
I believe you all right, Sarah. Just keep going. You done said it now. Go ahead on, finish. Come on with it.
You ain't gonna get no money for this one.
That's
your
what
book.
Sarah I've been waiting
That's
for.
your
Come
book
with
signing for the rest of the day. Dog on it. But I'm saying that just because you have something between your legs that is very similar to somebody else does not mean the outcome or the behavior and the practices are not going to be the same. And I feel like we should not spend so much time trying to form this specific type of guy, right? And let's embrace the vast opportunities that come in masculinity, that come in man, that come in being a teacher. There's some of us that are groomed to be teachers, that are groomed to be nurses, right? So you're always going to see us in those fields. You always kind of have an idea what kind of guy is in what particular field, right? Because he's groomed in that manner. Clifford mentioned about another level of grooming a man. And you groom a man to do a particular work, right? Biblically, you know, what was David? What was his brothers? You know, you get into the levels and who was responsible for doing. No, you go tend the sheep while you go to the battlefield, right? And because of that creation, we start to see these different multiplicities that occur in manhood, and it reflects in the choices of our discipline. I remember when I was teaching pre-K at Bethune-Cookman, and I was actually teaching before I graduated, right? I had my teaching certificate. I went to an institution where you had to pass the FTCE before you graduated, right? The college and where I was at, it was before anybody other school. All the white schools were not doing that, right? Nope. Dr. Rembrandt set a standard and we all followed it, right? But I was teaching in pre-K and I remember this young boy going, and we was in circle time. There was a playtime. We were just moving out of circle time. And this little boy went to go play with these dolls. And his mother came in. No, his dad came in first and had a conniption fit with the teacher, the lead teacher. Why is he over there playing with them dolls? Why is he playing with them dolls? And we don't allow that, you know, in our house. And, you know, immediately this boy gets shook. And his mother comes in following him, and the dad begins to chastise the mother for the behavior practices that the child is naturally displaying. Now, again, we understand that parenting does not come with a book. But one thing for sure about parenting, we've all been children. We've all been kids. And if you can't tap in, tap in, I think somebody down at the bottom will get that tap in. If you can't tap in to that childlike mentality that you remember, we don't have to create that mentality where this child has to fear playing with something that has no significant of a meaning to him, only that it is a toy, right? That's all it is. It's a toy to him at this moment in his life. It's a toy. But now we've put definition, we've put meaning behind the toy, that it's not masculine, it's not boy-like, it's not right. And so again, I go back and ask, what kind of foundation, what kind of house are we building when we deal with the men that we deal with?
Mm. Wow. Wow.
If I can jump in real quick, to Terrence's, statements, I feel like society has a problem with masculinity in general. We have this idea that, going back to when we was talking about nurturing, a lot of men, I guess that I've come across, don't feel as though it's their job to nurture. It's their job to be that drill sergeant that we spoke of. So, this issue and problem that we have of masculinity in, today's society is an issue in itself. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Wow. This is heavy, y'all. This is some heavy conversation. And also, just thinking about culture, and everything like that. We always talk about in early childhood, it's a hot button about culture and cultural gaps, gender, just all of that. And a lot of times, in early childhood, I'm speaking because I'm an early childhood educator. A lot of that is almost taboo, really speaking of that. And that is my niche, culture and so forth. And I am a trainer, early childhood trainer here in Georgia and Michigan. And I have a training called cultural relativism. Why does she wear hijab? Why is her hair so kinky? And when those topics come up, they are hot button topics. But the main thing I think that we really need to do in our educational spaces and so forth is to really make sure that we create identity safe classrooms and environments, that we are really embracing children and their families for whatever they hunt as what's cultural to them, and that we know that our children and our parents are an asset, and they should be valued, and however you see, however one person sees masculinity or gender, it should be respected, and a lot of times, when we're using cultural relativism, a lot of things culturally we might not, really agree upon, and that's okay. You have to know that's okay, but we do have to have a line of respect and really understand the information that's out there and take that and value that, and like Terrence was saying, we can't just box in what masculinity looks like. And I think also too, society, has put a predestined idealism on what masculinity looks like. And so we've been, conditioned almost to see that, masculinity looks like this. And now things are changing and the world is evolving, and, we are seeing and accepting different ways of how masculinity looks, and especially in the Black community as well, because it's I mean, these intersectionalities that we have to deal with, you being a Black man, or you being a Black man that's an educator, or being a Black man that's an educator that's gay, or being a Black man that's an educator that's straight, with a disability. You guys have a lot that you have to deal with. And so with the mental health piece, how do you guys deal with all of these things that come at you, being a Black man in America in education and leadership positions? How do you guys tackle those day-to-day, just obstacles, that come at you? How do you deal with that? How do you manage that, your mental health?
I think that you have to find a routine that works for you. And what I mean by that is finding something that you do daily, when you have those little small pockets of time. I remember in the classroom during transitions and during breaks, those were my times where I would meditate and reflect on things that were important to me and kind of recharge during those times. So when that next class came in, I was able to almost start afresh as if I did that morning. So it's always good for, well, is good for me is to find that space within myself to kind of just recharge and finding the time, putting that pocket of time in that time. Because sometimes we get so caught up on let's go to such and such classroom and have a conversation that we forget about ourselves, and which ties into self-care again. Those little things that we do are a part of our self-care that I think a lot of Black men lack in general, educators or not. I think that we do not provide ourselves the time to do self-reflection and self-care. Those things are very important.
Yes, yes, definitely.
For me, I do gratitude journaling. So that's kind of my self-care, like throughout the day. I just take opportunities, like I have alarms set on my phone and just do gratitude journaling or do sound meditation or just do something that releases me from the center, removes me from the center, and just again get back grounded and just, you know, all of that. Because it is a lot and there is a lot of hats for me personally. you know I always tell myself, I'm Black, I'm gay, and I'm in the early childhood industry. So I have three darts on my head already, right? So I also look at all of these as opportunities. Like, these are all authentically me, and being authentically me has put me in a position of creating something of my own and not depending on someone. So, being all of these three things, society says that, society has their assumptions on it, but it actually put me in a position that I needed to be in, that I'm very happy that I'm in. So, yeah.
Mm. I just love you, Warren, because I first of all, because you connected to my sister Rashawn, of course, and you just being in that position of early childhood, like any early childhood male that I come in contact with, it's like I salute them. I salute you for the position that you're in. You, and also you too, Jerron. Like, I salute y'all because you guys are like a diamond in the rough. Like, it's far few in between. So definitely. Anyone else want to touch on how they, go into self care? It's so important.
So
Well, I was. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Like I tell anybody, I say, you gotta find your peace and your inner peace in something that you can find your peace. And so, like with me, um, like the other gentleman said, meditation. I know when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing that I do, because I just want to generate good energy. But then um, throughout the day, sometimes I'll put my phone on and I'm not on do not disturb. I'm not necessarily going into a meditation, but I'm just want to be able to just get into some type of peace, because again, sometimes it's me, and I heard we have some different business owners sometimes that our days can be very busy, and if we don't just take that time to reflect and say, we can kind of get overwhelmed. And then one of the things that I think that for me is where I take time to reflect is, I tell guys, I said, you got to at least be able to take an hour to an hour and a half for your day. And so one of the things I do, I say I revert to what works for me is, again, is going to the gym. Like I zone out and I lock in for an hour and a half, and that to me that brings me where I can just deal with anything throughout the day, no matter what comes my way, because I've been able to you know get that energy out of me. Because again, like as men, sometimes you got to be able to release and reflect. For me.
That's good. That's good. Anyone else?
Therapy. So I talk, you know, as confident as I am, I'm probably the most like if I can't say anything, if I don't want to say anything, it's just therapy. You know, I've learned that I could not do it by myself, you know, and I needed some assistance, just like you need a doctor, just like you need a accountant, you need a mechanic, you need a therapist. And I don't mean no preacher. I know everybody wants to say the church is your therapist. Nah, that ain't what I'm talking about. You need an actual therapist with a degree that can delve into that DSM-5 and break down some of those issues that you think you lack, that you might be strengths in your life. And that's really, you know, helped me. I've saw a lot of failed relationships, a broken marriage, you know, and still got to go deal with people in the community. Come on now. Come on. You still got to go to classrooms. Some of us sitting in classrooms and we need to be on somebody's couch, you know, and we teaching somebody's kids, you know, nada, you know, and until we get to, I get that part. So that's what I've been doing, you know, probably that's the reason why I'm behind art, because I don't got to do nothing but look at the painting on the wall and be like, yo, that's nice.
And man, you preaching. That's,
you know, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I would just say he's preaching right now. That's colossal.
Right. But what I was going to say was, Terrence, what you're asking is for a whole community to release that taboo of therapy to begin with. I'm not sure about everybody else's, you know, upbringing. I'm from the South, I'm currently in North Carolina, always have been. But therapy was one of those things that was always taboo in the Black community. You don't need that, you need prayer. Well, okay, well, pray for me that I can find someone to talk to.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
But it goes back to, you know, and I wanted to speak on Warren. It's like, if nothing else, you know, for Corona, for myself, you know, condolences to everybody who has lost someone, but it allowed me the opportunity to, you know, as cliche as it is, find myself. Because I didn't have that outlet of meditation or, you know, the gym. You know, these were things that I wanted to get into and wanted to do. But again, meditation. My upbringing, you know, meditation is of the devil. You know, that's, you know, not of God. So, you know, a lot of things are, you know, instilled in us because that is what was instilled in them. You know, it's almost like a generational curse, and eventually someone has to break it. You know, now being a full-grown adult, you know, I've even been researching, you know, finding a therapist for myself. I've even, you know, like Warren and some of the others mentioned, you know, I'm just now getting into meditation, you know, after reading about it and studying about it. There's nothing wrong with these things. You know, we speak on mental health. It is a real issue and it is a disease, just like anything else. And if you don't step back and you don't take the time for yourself, you're no good to anybody else, especially those that are closest to you and around you. You know, so I think, you know, we first have to break those taboos, you know, because I'm gonna let you know, there's a lot of people in this community. We need a lot of couches. We need a lot of couches because there's a lot of things that needs to be broken, and there's a lot of things that need to be said, and a lot of things that need to come to head. So.
Wow. Wow. Powerful, powerful conversations. Wow. I just want to thank everybody. I know it's coming up to almost 9 o'clock, but the conversation has been so powerful, so powerful. And so I just want to thank you guys for coming out of your busy schedules to come and talk to us so that we can hear you. We celebrate you. We love you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for what you're doing in the community, what you're doing in the classrooms, what you're doing in your families. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much as an educator. I don't have kids. I don't know as of yet. I don't know about all that, but if what, you know, I just want to thank you, you know, just to see you guys in these positions, and just spreading positivity and love to children and teenagers. You know, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. And so, Kyra, do you have any last words?
Oh no, that's what I was gonna go through the line and get the lab, get our If any closing statements, I'm gonna just start with Warren. What's your closing statement for the evening? And then we'll just go down the line.
I guess my closing statement would be, at the end of the day, we can only be authentic to ourselves. And, vulnerability is going to break limitations. It's going to break the chains. When we're truly authentic, we're truly vulnerable about our struggles and what we're going through, it can definitely change someone's lives and make a big impact.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Mr. Corey.
Only thing I have is I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think, just as we said, the taboos of talking about issues and problems instead of sweeping them under the rug is something that we should do more often. It should become a regular thing. But, speaking to the education and communities, building confidence, especially in Black and Brown students and in children, is essential to teaching and learning at every level. So again, I commend every educator, every writer, every author, that has taken the time out of your lives to teach or to write what has been on your heart that is, going to help, someone else down the road. So again, thank you. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Theo.
Yes, I'm blown away by tonight's conversation. I'm again really humbled to have been invited to be a part of this panel with these other amazing men here. And I think that for me, this was very helpful to just be in a space with other Black men that are in the education field. And it makes me want to, hop back in and stay involved, because I did step away for a while and I'm hopping back into it. And I was hopping back into it with some hesitancy just because of things that have occurred in the past. But tonight, I feel like hearing from everybody else and, hearing some different experiences and knowing that there's other people out there like me that look like me who have experienced similar situations and are doing the best that we can to provide representation for our kids. It's been amazing. So thank you for allowing me to be here.
Oh, you said Clifford?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey. Again, I appreciate everybody on the panel. I think I took something from everybody on the panel. I think this was something big. I think it's something that I think should be done more often. Something Terrence said, the different backgrounds of everybody come together. And then I think this would be huge to be on a huge platform. I think, I hope as many eyes can see it as possible, because I think this was really good, very informal, and a great conversation. Like I said, I appreciate every last.
You muted yourself.
I'm sorry. I said I've truly learned something from each one of you guys throughout this session. I really appreciate all you guys.
Yes, sir. Jameer.
I just think it was a bunch of beautiful minds, and I think what we continue what our ancestors have been doing for centuries. It was a continuation of Booker T. Washington versus W.E.B. Du Bois, and versus, I use that lightly, to Malcolm X versus Martin Luther King, because we're all saying the same thing, and it's just a different approach. But if we all come to a happy medium, I think it'd be a benefit to our community, and I'll leave it there. So great conversation, and looking forward to part 2.
Demetria.
Okay.
You guys hear me again? Okay. So I would like to first of all again say thank you. It was really a pleasure to get what I can, despite my computer issues. But one of the things that I would like to leave with the group is to be present, and not just present physically, but just being present in your mind, your spirit and soul, just being there and being still and being at peace and going forward in making sure that we're nurturing whatever it is that we're interested in doing, whether it's teaching, whether it's counseling, whether it's working with kids in prisons, it doesn't matter. I think it's very important for us to be diligent and present.
Awesome. Jerron?
Thank you, Jocelyn and Kari, for having me on this terrific panel. I can't wait for part 2, and I want to leave everyone with this. The work continues. Whether you're in education, whether you're not in education, the work continues, the impact continues, and the representation matters.
That's awesome. I purposely left Terrence to the end. I'm going to give my remarks, and then I'll give it to Terrence so he could close us out, and then Jocelyn. But I always remember that song from India Ari that says, when young people will talk to old people and old people will talk to young people, it will make us a better people all around. So no matter what your stance is on discipline, on whatever, as long as we are there to support each other and support our children, and we're willing to talk about it, I feel like just like this evening's conversation, I feel like this has made us a better people all around. And so I'll close out by handing it to Mr. Terrence Crib.
So I'm not going to close it out, but I will say that I entered into this room not knowing what I was getting into, but it was love that brought me. And it was Jocelyn's love, your love, that brought me to want to say yes with no sleep. Literally, I'm going off 24 hours, which I do apologize for the Freudian slip. I want to say that perhaps many of you guys, I probably would have never been around, just because you're not in my circle, you're just not in my reach. And to be able to be brought into this space just once again validates what I felt. What type of house am I building? What type of man am I building? What type of plumbing am I putting in my home? You know, and I want to make sure that whatever child, whatever person that I'm in contact with, that I leave my mark. Either you like me or you don't, you know. But one thing you will do is you will respect the man that I come with. And so I look forward to the next one. Don't invite me though, because I want to listen next time about it. I look forward to it. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, I'm about to be in tears. I'm just thankful that you guys just said yes, because it was a conversation that we needed. We need this conversation for our children. We need to hear you guys' voice, because you guys are so far few in between. And I'm so overjoyed. My cup just runs over that you guys just said yes to me. I know it was like last minute, because I'm a creative, so things just happen. When they come, they just come, you know, and I'm like, I got to get it done. I got to see it manifest. And you guys coming on here just saying yes to this assignment, I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for supporting L'amour de Soi. Thank you so much for just supporting Kusoma. And you guys said you want a second part, and it's just overwhelming that you guys think it's great enough to have a second part to this, and I think it's definitely necessary and needed. So thank you so much. And I know Kari too, because I'm going into tears. Ready to cut it now. But thank you guys again. Thank you for all the viewers who are watching. And I hope that you guys got something from this, and that you will take this into consideration. And when you see a Black man in a leadership position, please salute them. If they're in the community doing things, please salute them. Please salute them, because they are on the front lines. So again, thank you so much to everybody. And I love you guys. And I'll see you guys on Saturday. Have a good one.
Right, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Hi, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Nobody life pass over any obstacle. Say now who they draw the map, you are looking at the champion. Why they guess they shaking yash, with the person with the cash, Aje, kick it.